a good reason behind it.
I know you always do.
Thank you.
I didn't, it was very, very sarcastic.
I'm taking that as a compliment. I don't care how you put it out, it's a compliment, I already took it.
It wasn't even on the record. Are we ready? It is 10 o'clock and we are here for an update from Road and Bridge. With that, we'll turn it over to Director Todd. Use your microphone.
I will do that. First up, I wanted to discuss the holiday change to a floating holiday, and what it is the Christmas Eve holiday. Our crews do not get that day off. They have to work Christmas Eve to get Christmas off, if possible. A lot of times they don't get Christmas off either, but it just depends on the weather. But if they can, they go out, they bust their butts on Christmas Eve, putting out as much sand as they can so they can have Christmas morning with their families. What they've done in the past is that was a floating holiday, and the guys used it the day after Thanksgiving. That way they actually have an opportunity to actually use it. I'm not asking to change it for the Road and Bridge office. The office can stay open the day after Thanksgiving, but these guys, they should be able to take it and not have to worry about that on Christmas Eve. That's why I'm asking for it. I've been trying to get that back ever since they took it from a floating holiday and made it Christmas Eve, which is great for everybody else that's an office staff or that it doesn't have to be out in the weather, working in the storms. So that is one that I wanted you guys to discuss.
I don't mind that. I think that, I know that HR said they don't like the idea of floating holidays because of the way you need to track it, but I think it's appropriate for Road and Bridge staff to be able to take time off, and all of the holidays really are during the high Road and Bridge time. Even Thanksgiving is a high Road and Bridge time. The question I have is for the staff that don't, for on the Thanksgiving day itself, they get paid their time and a half if they work that day. And so in order to ensure, my question is, do some people get to have that day off, or is nobody actually really gets Thanksgiving and Christmas off?
Most of the time they get Thanksgiving off, the road department does. It just depends on if we get an early snow event here. Some years we've had to work during Thanksgiving, but not very many of them. Christmas, the only times I've had Christmas off has been since I came in here, and I think 2 years prior to that, we've had pretty mild winters the last few years. So we've been able to get Christmas off, but Christmas Eve is not a day that they can get off. They have to work Christmas Eve. Otherwise, people aren't getting to their places on Christmas Day. I think that floating holiday, if it was made a floater holiday, that's an option for them to use it the day after Thanksgiving. That doesn't mean they have to use it that day. They could use it earlier in the year if they wanted.
So I was kind of getting at this, to address a policy that would make sense. Is there a need for other days so that Road and Bridge gets their time off, to make it one that can move? So like if you're not really able to take Christmas off, should there be an option that someone can use? I'm going to work on Christmas because we have to keep it staffed. Yes, I'm going to get paid time and a half for it, but I guess that's their compensation, is the time and a half on the Christmas day. But do you get to float people on Christmas Day where some get it off at all, or no?
We try, if we can, we try to have the people that don't have young children, we talk to them first about have them come in, if we have to come in and do some sanding in the early mornings of Christmas. So we'll have our guys that are older that don't have kids, they'll come in and do it, so we can get those people home with their kids. But sometimes it's an all or nothing. We get 3-4 inches of snow, everybody's got to come in and work.
Okay.
It isn't
Okay.
it's not a day that they could stay home at that point.
It's not a decision item on your topic. I do think it has to be addressed this budget cycle, because individual departments shouldn't be saying, I put an ad in the newspaper and we're just going to be all closed, when if the
Right.
county building is open, the county building needs to be open. And I know that people want Thursday off, and so the day after Thanksgiving off. A lot of people don't like that you would come back from Thursday to a Friday. But
Right.
then there are people's offices that are not even open on that Friday anyhow. And so I think there's a solution. I think it's a reasonable solution to make Christmas Eve a floating holiday. I think arguably, I don't think HR's argument of it's just difficult to track. I think that's something that you would have to submit to.
Right.
These are the people that didn't use it that are entitled to a day off, and that for me, it would be a day that has to be used in that fiscal year because
Yep.
that's when it existed. That's the only caveat that I would have. If you don't use it in the fiscal year, it doesn't get added to your
Nope,
date.
you lose it. We've never had that issue in Road and Bridge.
Okay.
The guys are more than happy to take it off when they can.
Okay.
You know, even if we got a lot of snow coming up around Thanksgiving, they might take it before so they can go deer hunting or something. A lot of the guys like to do that. That way
I do
they
think
actually get out.
there's some more administrative burden, there's no question. But to have it isolated down to that few number of people because of what demands they have on their schedule during that time of year does make sense to me as well. I think the question about the day after Thanksgiving is a countywide question and issue that we should address separately. And so I think that still is a question that exists and needs to be dealt with in another venue. But this particular request, I'm in support of as well.
Commissioner Corn, any comment? I'm going to take that as no, but that you support it because this was your question.
It is mute. You're muted currently, Commissioner Corn.
He's driving probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, his hand's up.
I'm going to say that that's a high five. I agree.
Oh man, when the voice don't work, go to hand signals.
There you go.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. All right.
Smoke signals are next.
Thank you. All right. Next item, sir.
All right, so my next one is an interesting request. So what I have is we had a lot of unanticipated revenue come in this year, and I used it all for asphalt. That freed up my HB 312 funds that I have. With that being said, I could use those HB 312 funds to move them towards equipment purchases or towards another project at this point. My concern is with the cuts that are coming up down the pipe with the state, is we got the East River Bridge out there, and that East River Bridge is a federal aid bridge that is now like 5 or 6 years in the making. So with the inflation and the right-of-way requirements and stuff that we're gonna have to purchase out there, the bridge is about $1 million over. We've talked about it in the past about kicking it down the road a little bit and applying for grants to get the difference for that $1 million. Most of the grants that Matt and I have been looking at are only for $100,000. That's not gonna come close to what we need. So my question is I reached out to LTAC and asked if there was a way that they could invoice me now for a portion of that money coming up, and they said they could. They could invoice me for that and then hold it in a retainer to put to that project when this bridge actually comes up for completion. So I was thinking, if it was all right with you guys, I would have them invoice me for about 350 to 500,000, depending on what I can come up with in the budget. I have to go through it and see what we have. It might only be the 350. But if I could invoice that and pay that towards that bridge, that's not much less I got to come up with in the next couple of years. So I'm trying to look at the future.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Is there any possibility that the project won't move forward and be completed?
yes. I mean, while the project right now is fully funded, except for that $1 million, we're going to have to come up with that at some
The
point,
only reason
right?
it hasn't started is because of the match or because of?
Well, we have paid our match, but now we have this inflation. So the bill, or the whole grant, I'm going to use this number. I think it was 3.4 million. I'd have to go back and look to see what it was for.
Okay.
And the project is coming over $1 million over what they awarded for the grant. So that would come to Bonner County to come up with that $1 million, right? to not do that and let that bridge just,
Is that based on current estimates or bids or?
no, that's based off of current estimates.
Okay.
Yeah, that's coming from LTAC where it's at right
Gotcha.
now. Yeah, we just went through the design side of it and looking at the design, the right-of-way purchase, and all that, we reduced it to a one-lane bridge from a two-lane bridge, trying to fit it within the constraints. But it's definitely gonna be that way. The Lomar out there for the flood zone is quite a bit more than what we were anticipating, so the bridge has to go up. It's gotta be skewed a little bit. All that costs money, right?
Yeah.
And then we gotta do a gravel in place weight measurement, where we put that gravel in there and it puts the weight on it for
Yeah.
so many months, and then they
You have to
remove it.
preload it. too.
Yep, we're
Yeah.
preloading that. So it's it's a costly bridge, right?
Is,
But it is a project that we're.
is there a
doing.
reason we're not just putting it into, are they going to put it into an assigned capital improvement account that then if the project doesn't move forward, the money comes back to the county?
Yes, that would
That
happen.
that's my issue, because if you're going to actually save for a particular project, that means we just need to open a capital improvement account. And then it becomes that line item that lets you put the money in. This is what Bonner County hasn't been doing when we do projects. We just say we're funding it versus
Right.
creating. And so the objective for you to give the money to LTAC is to have today's cost versus the future costs that
Yep.
might fluctuate and be up or down. But did you compare and contrast to a capital improvement account that you could potentially just put money in and then it be one where you're gaining interest on and that we have full control of? Did you do that balance?
I did not do that. That's actually a very good idea to do that. I would actually rather do that.
I
to
would
be
rather
honest.
do that to be in
Yeah, because
control
then I
of
could
it.
build
And-
interest off that money.
Exactly.
I would,
Can I ask that that you look at that?
Yeah, I
Um,
think that's a good idea. I think I'll reach out with Jessica and see what we gotta do to do something like that.
yeah, and then
You-
I would compare, it'd be great to come back to see what would the interest-bearing amount be versus what do we, I mean, it's a guess, but what do we anticipate inflation's gonna be?
Right.
The reason I ask you, financially right now, it is a different market. And so they've actually started putting out CDs with 4% interest on them for low terms. And so there's an opportunity, if you have $350,000, to put it into something that can help build some interest while we prepare for it. And then if something happens on a different project, because it was just in a capital improvement line, you have the flexibility and you don't have to go to LTAC, because I guarantee you, LTAC is going to take your money and put it into an account that they're going to
Right.
benefit from.
Right.
So
No, that's a
we-
good idea. I never even thought of that. I actually like that idea.
So,
So I will follow up with that
okay.
and see what I can do with that. And if you guys are okay with that, I would have to bring that back in a memo.
You would bring it back to
Sure.
open up the capital improvement account and then identify what you were going to do.
Okay.
Like you could reasonably say, Commissioner Corn, is your hand up now or was it before?
No, it's up now.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No,
Because
no problem.
that
I
way,
just had a question regarding what we're discussing right now. And if we do something like that, does that mean that we're pushing the construction further down the road?
No,
it is already further down the road. We don't have the money to do it. He's trying to save and plan for it. And so,
Okay, because my concern is inflation's not stopping. So if we kick the can down the road and we create this account, then are we looking at $1.5 million a year, 2 years from now? That was my only concern.
so my thought with this, Commissioner Corn, is if I was able to do this year, then any other unanticipated revenue that I receive this year, I could put towards that project and possibly pull this project off next year. That way it's not getting kicked down the road and creating more inflation. So
Okay.
that was kind of my thought with this, rather than just
you could
taking
get,
this
you
money. I could
potentially,
use it for something else, but I don't know if I'm gonna get enough money to cover this.
you
so
could
this would be
potentially
the
get
best
there
one.
faster if it was an
Yes.
account that we were playing with.
Yeah.
And that's, right now, that's beneficial to the county if we did that, because right now, even some of the terms on CDs are like 4 months at 4%, like the term
Right.
limit is smaller. And if we were bouncing 350 around, we could collect some interest on what we have available to us. And it's the correct way to do the line item, because the difficulty and hesitation I have is handing our money to someone else who, that's what
Yeah.
they're going to do, but then we're in less control of it. So I would like us to do that.
Okay.
And even if it was a little bit of where you're not gaining anything by giving it to them, you're just securing that you're going to move forward with the project, which
Yep.
a capital improvement account would actually do that for you and give you the option to shift money into that account as you got unanticipated funds, so that we're preparing for the decline of the bridge that needs to be repaired.
I think that's a great idea.
I agree. I think it's a great idea that we be the ones to benefit from any interest that's earned while we're in this interim period. The risk is always whether or not inflation will exceed. But we can't stop that because we don't have the ability to pull the trigger on the project right now, so we don't really have any control. This is the only piece we have control over, right? So I agree, I think that is a great idea.
I could pull the trigger on the project right now if I had $1 million.
Right, but
I
because we
don't. So
don't
that's,
have the
that's
matching
the whole
portion.
point of it, right?
Yeah, it's like we should acknowledge the reality, but we can't control
Yeah.
the one side of this equation, so, unfortunately, I think we're gonna see a recession start soon, and therefore, it might mean that we're gonna actually see costs come down some because of interest rates potentially dropping and,
Yeah.
less projects in the market and more competitiveness, but we can't rely on any of those things. But this is the only
Right.
thing we can control, so I think.
Yeah, and that was my biggest thing, is making certain that we have the money for it, right? Because I'm like, looking at trying to come up with another 900,000, or maybe if it's another million, might be almost impossible, looking at the cuts that are coming down
Yeah.
from the state level. So it's gonna be interesting moving forward with the budget it is, so I'd rather just plan for it. And I like the idea of putting it in an interest-bearing account. That makes sense. So we can use that interest as well. I like that idea.
Okay.
That's why I wanted on here for discussion.
Yeah, so then if
Yep.
you do meet with the auditor and get all the information, then you could bring it to a business meeting.
Yep.
For the board to,
And we can do some research on what's being offered right now, because there's actually quite a bit being offered right now in terms of some people's view on what happens in the economy when you're looking at tariffs. The communication isn't accurate to how they're
Right.
being impacted. You are going to have that, you're going to have a hard time as people adjust to it, and that's what they're communicating about. But there's going to be, a number of years of plenty, and then I also agree that you're going to have a downfall, because the market is already shifting in the direction of what would improve interest rates right now. And even if we just did that for a few years, there's no risk, because it's just an interest-bearing type of an account. And so I think we should take advantage of that in everybody's budget. If there's other projects like that, identifying what projects we have that we're not doing that we should be planning for, we should always have that capital improvement account there, so that we're putting some money aside for that.
Yep. That
So,
would be great.
okay. Next item,
So,
you're working on an RFP.
oh yeah, the RFP, they're due to have that in by the 16th. So once they get that, this is for the Merritt Bridge, then Tom and I and Matt and a couple of folks from LTAC will be going through and scoring all the proposals and getting that out to LTAC so they can select
Okay.
whoever they're gonna select. I'm working on that right now, as well as the budget. All districts, we're grading.
As well
with
as
the
your
weather.
budget, are you decreasing any staff members?
No, I did have
Administrative?
one quit though,
Okay.
which I do want to replace. He's a full-time employee. I have a part-time employee right now that we would like to move into that position.
Okay. And then you'll hire for a part-time or get rid of the
Yeah, we
part-time?
would hire another part-time.
Okay. Office staff, you're not sparing one?
No, no.
wouldn't we normally still do a full advertisement and consider all candidates?
Well, typically what we'll do is something like this, if I have somebody that's already been working for us, we'll do an in-house. So we'll put it in-house to anybody in the county first. And then if they don't apply, then we would go out of house. Is how we typically do it. When we already have somebody that has been working for us for 6 months, that we already know is a good candidate, that's who we're gonna hire, right, when we put it out. So I feel like that's the whole point of a part-time position, is to feel them out and see how well they do with the county to give them that step in the door.
But to address what he's saying, he puts it out as an internal posting for everyone. It's just that, so that we say it right, the person who is already in the part-time position is the most likely to be selected
Yep.
because they've already been, and so in-house is essentially just in his department, unless, but you have had people in Road and Bridge
Yep.
that have gone into administrative that might say, oh, I would want to, which is why you have to do the internal posting to the whole organization.
Yeah, we do
And-
it to the whole
Yeah.
county-wide.
Okay, yeah, I don't want to
In-house.
isolate.
Yep.
The greatest probability is that's going to be the best candidate. But
It
to
is.
not open it up to see if you have a better candidate is
Right.
diminishing the potential value to the county.
And so you know that we do open it up that way, and if somebody does come in that has the experience, they would go through an operator test.
Perfect.
We do that even out of house.
We want the most qualified and
Yep.
capable candidate.
We go in and actually test them in the field.
Yep.
See
Yeah,
how
we
they
just don't
do.
want to create a false perception that we are earmarking a position and we're not considering other candidates in case we have a better candidate. That's
Right.
the,
Because it impacts the whole idea of working for Bonner County, because then people don't look for jobs here if it's basically like the same people have already decided it. But I understand your practice and it's covered, so, all right.
Yep. So that is something we're looking at doing right now. Moving forward, you'll probably be seeing that come open here pretty quick. I just approved the
Okay.
action this morning
gotcha.
on it. So, with that being said, all the districts are grading right now, taking advantage of the rain. We got a whole bunch of culvert repairs that we're gonna be doing throughout all three districts that's in the asphalt or under existing asphalt. So I just got a quote from Mark. I think the low quote was 17,000 with Interstate. Woods was like 19,000 for the same ones. So I'll be going with Interstate on that. We'll be moving that forward. Tom's gonna have some, and so will Ron coming up, but I have that set aside in the budget for those type of projects to replace those culverts. Our cement treated base is gonna start on May 21st out of Garfield Bay. I don't know if any of you guys are even familiar with that, but if you're not and would like to come out and take a look at the project, that'd be a good one to come out and watch. We used to do those all over the county, and we got one going on now, so it'd be a good one for you guys to come out and see if you're
Wait.
I'd like
interested.
to observe the.
When is that?
May 21st.
Can you
Yep.
send us a notice of what time and whatnot? Because I do
Yep.
think that that's beneficial for the board to be able to see when you're doing that.
Yep. Yeah, it's quite a process. They come through, we hire a contractor to lay the concrete down on the road. And then we have it set down at a certain rate for a percentage for our mix rate for a certain depth, which is about a foot. And then we mix it with water with our big road reclaimer. I don't know if you guys have seen it or not. But we're one of the only counties in the inland northwest that actually has one. And we've done a lot of these. So it's a pretty cool process to go through. We create that base with that cement. We did one out on Tweedy Road not too long ago. And we put 4 inches of gravel in between the cement and the asphalt. That way, if the cement cracks, it doesn't reflect through the asphalt. We used to just use a fabric, but the fabric would rip and it'd reflect through. We found this to be the best process. We've done a lot of them through the county.
I think
So-
it's good, and I'd like you to just let us know of things like that so that we get an opportunity to see some of that, because your department is so big in the county, and a lot of people have questions on roads, and it helps us to be able to give good, solid answers of decisions that we make when we're talking about
Yep.
roads.
Yeah, I think it'd be great. Do a field trip, check it out.
Great opportunity for sure.
All right.
And then what's not listed here is the asphalt projects. Well, it is under District 1, 2, and 3, but Poe's plan on starting Center Valley on Wednesday. So in 2 days, they're gonna start paving that. And they're gonna start on the Selly end, work their way all the way to Colburn, then set back, do the other lane, then they'll set back, do the next two lifts. They plan on having it done in 4 days. We'll see how that goes. And then they'll be moving from there to Coolin, all the way up there into Mark's area. Mark's been busy trying to get that ready as well. So everybody, there's a few foremen that aren't here right now. They got projects going full bore right now, so I told them not to worry about being here, be on the project, so. That's what's going on with those. Mark, why don't you give us a little bit of a heads up on what you're doing?
But yeah, pretty much we're just grading, replacing the culverts, we're getting ready to go underneath the asphalt, and grading that back to 2%. And then, gearing up for mag and also doing dirt patching up on East Shore.
East Shore, where he's deer patching, will take you down a little bit of a trip of memory lane. That was a road that we did not want. It was one that wasn't built to our standards, and the commissioners took it anyways and put it in the county system, and it's failing all the way through. It's a BST project, almost 9 miles. That's failing. That's gonna be millions and millions of dollars to repair. So right now, we're treating it with grader patches and deer patching what we can to keep it moving for now. But those are projects that when people come up and want roads brought into the county that we need to reflect back on and follow the actual road standards that we have set forth so that we don't cost the taxpayers more money than what we need to.
Agreed.
Yep.
Those are always hard conversations.
They're very
We have a
hard
lot of them,
conversations.
But agreed.
Yeah.
And I just want to say thank you for jumping on that pavement undermining issue on Colburn Road. I'm sorry.
Or
on,
Flagstone.
Yeah, that, I saw that on Friday when I was going down to a meeting in Coeur d'Alene. I saw the repairs and that was good to see.
Yeah, that was actually pretty concerning because we hadn't seen that. So when you brought it up, we went out there and I sent the foreman out there and he took pictures of it. So then Matt and I went and assessed it because we wanted to make certain if we need to do sheet piling or anything else in there. And we didn't. It was a pretty easy fix for what we had to go, so.
Well, good, yeah, because
But
you
it
guys
could have
caught
been
early.
bad.
Yeah, it just, I just saw where the asphalt was starting to just
Yep.
deform a little bit on the surface, and I could see where the erosion was happening. So I'm glad you guys caught it early, so.
Yeah, thank you for letting us know about it too. So District 1 is working out in Garfield Bay. That's what they're doing right now, getting it ready for that cement treated base. They will be moving over onto Monarch Road. I have the survey documents from Dan Provault sitting on my desk this morning. I've been working with Monica and Pat Gunner out there on a 90-degree corner. They're giving us a right-of-way through there so we can soften that corner for that asphalt, which was very, very nice of them to do. So I got all the survey and stuff done now, and then I'm sending an email out to Bill. We'll be creating some documents for them to get notarized, and we can have that recorded. We can start that project, moving it forward so we can get it paved. That is one of the projects we're paving this year, so. I just wanted to say thank you to Pat and Monica Gunner for that too. That was a good deal for the county, and they understood where we were coming from. They even did an additional 10 feet for utilities out there, so the utility company could move their lines to benefit the whole area in there, so. That's a great thing moving forward. District 3, he's full bore on getting Center Valley ready for asphalt in 2 days, so that's what those guys are doing right now. MAG, we're still waiting for the contact on MAG so we can get it ordered and get it started. Our sign technician, he's got a lot of encroachment permits that he's doing right now. So he's been running full bore with that and sign installations and repairs and damages, so on and so forth. That's gonna end up being something that he's gonna be retired in the next 2 years. It's gonna be something we should be looking at building that to a two-person position instead of a one-person position.
Who's gonna be retiring?
Brian Reynolds,
Okay.
he's been here longer than I have with the county. I think he's got me by 5 years, something like that. But he's gonna be looking at retiring in a couple of years. And that position, with the amount of people that have been moving in here, has just been overwhelming. And he's out there alone all the time doing that. And it would be nice to have a second person taking some of those encroachment permits so he can be working on signs. And if we got signs that are up in the air that are pretty tall, that we have two people on those signs instead of one. The last thing we want to do is find Brian out there somewhere where he slipped and fell in the middle of the winter off the back of the truck or off a ladder or something. It's kind of a position that we need to look at moving forward. I'm not saying we need to do it this year, but I will be writing some stuff in that we should be considering it
I think
for the next year or
when you
two.
explained the safety hazard, I
would
don't
be
think
nice to
that, I
have.
don't understand how we can't address that, because the risk to an employee isn't appropriate, in my opinion, to ignore. If you
Right.
identify that there is a risk, which that sounds like a big risk, then I think that it does have to come forward to the board to address, especially when you're talking about wintertime being out there by yourself. It's not just the risk to him, there's a risk to him and to the county, because that's a very easy claim against the county. And I think that it's not appropriate to disregard his safety or whoever's in that position's safety because of feeling like it's inconvenient to have to address. So I would like to, unless a
I will have
commissioner
that put
disagrees, I
on.
would like to address the safety before he has to go out there in the winter.
I'll put it in my budget as an enhancement.
Well, and I think it's a twofold conversation. I agree, we shouldn't avoid the fact that we understand now that there's a risk issue. We shouldn't wait on it, on how to address it. But in addition to whether or not there's another full-time equivalent staff member associated with it, in the shorter term, probably makes sense to contact risk and ask Christian to evaluate and see if there are other things that we can do in the interim, whether it's equipment or things that could help to reduce the amount of, risk to the employee to do those installations. I don't know if there's anything that would be feasible, that would be helpful in that way to make it a safer process, but it'd probably be worth evaluating that.
Yeah, I can reach out, see where that goes.
Like I said, I don't know all the details.
Sometimes
but
when
if
I
there's a
get
way to-
involved with risk, that guy's mind goes a million miles an hour and it.
Yeah, and you might
Blows up.
also just know or have other staff in your department that have experience, but I have no idea if there
Right.
is such a thing, Jason. I'm just wondering, is there a truck bed or a bumper mounted piece of equipment that could be used standing on the ground instead of somebody on the tailgate of the truck trying to do these sign installations and things of that nature?
Yeah, right now he's using a ladder or he gets up on that truck. Bucket truck might be a handy thing to have, that he can sit in a bucket.
Still need
and go over
a
there.
second person, though.
You do for the encroachment
All of
permits,
the
because you
options
can't
you
do
need.
both.
All of the options require the need of a second person
Yeah.
because it's in the field, in pairs, and it's off the ground. So even in
If you're above the
the
ground.
bucket,
Yeah.
the bucket is, I'm sure you've probably experienced it. We've got a bucket too, and there's been times when my husband has had to slide down the
Because the
ramp
bucket
because
breaks.
it stopped going, and
Yeah,
then no one
right.
else
Somebody
is
has to
home.
operate,
Yeah,
yeah.
and the control is at the bottom,
Right.
and so that's not what we want
I
either.
feel like a second person is the right way to go with
It
it.
is.
It probably is. I just want to make sure we're looking at it from all angles as
Yeah.
well. So,
It's been on my mind for a while, ever since I took this position, trying to figure out how to make that a safer position.
yeah.
Because that position's been with the county for a long time,
Yes.
and it needs to be addressed.
Then let's
Okay.
start addressing it now to Commissioner
Yeah.
Williams' point. It's an acknowledged safety concern, so we shouldn't wait.
Okay,
District 2.
District 2 was Mark, didn't you already go?
Yeah, I
No.
did, but I can do it again.
Yeah. That's about it for right now that we got.
I didn't hear you
Rolling.
talk. Am I missing something?
Jason made a very brief comment and Mark agreed.
Oh, that count? Okay. Wow.
Well, just We're just basically grading. and
He
replacing
came, at
all-
least let him say something. I
That's
know you
right.
like the microphone. It's
And
just,
then just getting it ready to, because on May 21st, no, May 27th. I have to look, make sure I'm right. But anyway, we're gonna get, that week, we're gonna get the asphalt on
okay,
East River Road, so.
okay. Thank
I
you.
will be in and out of the office quite a bit with this asphalt projects going on too, just so you know.
So on right-of-ways and signs, I have a question. Did we, remember we had that meeting where we were talking up at Priest River where there's that section that is Bonner counties and some members of the community wanted to receive that so that they could control it. We said, no, it's parking. And we had a discussion about putting up signs like no overnight parking. Did we resolve all of that issue? Do you know where I'm talking about?
I've had several of these ones happen that I've went through and put no parking signs on. I'm trying to think of the one we're talking about.
Okay, I'll shoot you an email to kind of close that loop.
Okay.
We talked about it, and you said that we could get that done. So
Yes.
you may have done it, I just want to.
I might have already done it.
Yeah.
Shoot me an email so I can go refresh it,
Okay,
take a look.
all right.
There has been a guy calling quite a bit on Bear Paw, where that falls in is. We got no parking signs in there. Somebody parks in there sometimes. But I guess he's called the police quite a few times. I know they've been dealing with it too. They go out there and by the time they get there, there's nobody there. So, you know, they're doing what they can. We got the signs in place. There's not a lot other than that we can do with it. But the Falls Inn needs to be policing that themselves. Keep people off the county road there.
Okay. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Mark, I'll let you speak. Anything else? You don't have to just blatantly agree with whatever he says or blindly agree. Okay, all right, it is Commissioner, I think Commissioner Korn signed off. Is that what that is? Okay, all right, it is 10:37 and this meeting is adjourned.